We are taking a truly unique journey. It's into a raw, immediate, and just utterly gripping story. Angela's Ashes, a memoir by Frank McCourt. I mean, that one line from the text itself, Limerick gained a reputation for piety, but we knew it was only the rain. It tells you so much right off the bat, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Sets the tone perfectly. And for this deep dive, our mission really is to peel back the layers of this incredible text.
Yeah.
We want to understand not just the facts of a really challenging childhood, but the personality, the deep resilience that was forged within it.
Right.
And we're drawing directly from McCourt's own words, focusing on what one of our sources called a story so immediate, so gripping in its daily despairs, stolen smokes, and blessed humor. It's all about finding those direct textual nuggets.
You even get that sense from the photo, the one of young Frank McCourt at Leamy School in Limerick around 1938. It just makes it so real.
It does. Puts you right there.
So let's unpack this world. A world of, well, scarcity and struggle. Starting right at the beginning, the family's origins. What does McCourt actually tell us?
Well, that early context it's everything, really. The memoir kicks off introducing Malachi McCourt Sr., Frank's father, described as being born wild, always in trouble with the English or the Irish.
Sounds about right.
But then there's this fascinating kind of secret his mother shares later, that as a wee lad, his father was dropped on his head.
Whoa.
Yeah, which made him a bit peculiar. And McCourt presents this, well, it's not just a medical detail, is it? It feels like a narrative lens. It invites you, the reader, to think about character, circumstances, maybe even early trauma shaping this difficult man.
That detail, being dropped on his head, it really hangs over his character, doesn't it? Adds this complex, almost tragicomic feel to his later struggles. How does Angela, the mother, fit in? Her origins seem quite different in the text.
Are completely different, a really stark contrast. Angela's birth is described almost like a myth, arriving at the stroke of midnight, the new year.
Wow.
Described as a lovely girl with black curly hair and sad blue eyes. So right away, you have these, deeply divergent beginnings. The wild, troubled Malachi versus the sort of poetic, maybe faded Angela.
And that contrast sets up so much of their dynamic later, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It lays the groundwork for a relationship strained by, yes, external pressures like poverty, but also maybe by their fundamentally different inner worlds, how they cope. It's subtle, but McCourt builds it right in.
And that contrast feeds directly into the just, brutal reality of their poverty. That theme just grinds on throughout the whole memoir.
Brilliant.
The text keeps coming back to hunger. Frank saying, and Mam said, they get their appetites because they're starving half the time. It's just this constant gnawing thing. But it's more than physical pain, isn't it? You see the psychological toll in the text, how it shapes every decision, every tiny bit of joy. Like even a banana becomes this huge deal.
Huge. A victory or a gamble. You see it too in those grim details, like the mother getting toilet paper down the hall to the lavatory.
That part, yeah.
Because as she says, that is better than having the headlines from the Daily News blackening your arse. It's shocking, right?
Yeah.
How immediate it is in the text.
It is.
But that detail, it isn't just about lack. It's this searing insight into how extreme poverty strips away dignity.
Yeah.
Forces people to find this grim humor just to cope.
It's almost impossible to imagine, isn't it, living like that? And this daily struggle, it's all mixed up with the parents' dynamic. McCourt captures that so vividly. What does the text show us about how they navigated it all, especially with the father's drinking?
Well, the text shows this heartbreaking cycle. Dad gets a job, Mam is cheerful, and she sings. There's this brief flash of hope, what life could be like.
Right. You feel it lifting for a second.
Exactly. But then it crashes down when he drinks the wages. And the mother's despair, you really feel it when she cries, leave those boys alone. They're gone to bed half hungry because you have to fill your belly with whiskey.
Ugh.
It's not just describing a drunk father. It's showing the corrosive effect of addiction on the family, stealing food, security, everything.
And yet the father has these strange, almost theatrical moments Frank describes. Coming home, singing Roddy McCorley, offering nickels for promises to die for Ireland.
Yes. It's this bizarre mix, isn't it? Patriotic fervor and total neglect.
Yeah.
Grand ideals, but failing his family on the most basic level.
It shows McCourt's skill, though, presenting these complex characters without easy judgment.
Definitely. And amidst all that struggle, the memoir points out these moments of, well, ingenuity and real kindness, which were vital for survival.
Like Frank's stealing the bananas.
Exactly. Stealing bananas for the bawling twins, then planning to blame a man. It's raw, isn't it? A kid trying to protect his family, showing this deep love even when he's hungry himself.
A small act, but it says so much.
She does. And then there's the kindness from neighbors
Yeah.
that shines through too. Little breaths of hope.
Minnie McAdory.
Yeah, Minnie McDory giving them tea and porridge with jam in it, and her husband singing that song, Daddy Has Money and Mammy Has None, which Minnie says is a song for all the children.
That's quite something.
And Mrs. Leibowitz, too. Her soup was so good, Frank wished she could ever be my mother. These small generosities, they're like lifelines in the story, showing that compassion could still flicker, even there.
Providing that crucial emotional support, maybe.
I think so. But alongside these daily struggles, there's that much heavier shadow, isn't there? Loss and grief hang over the family right from the start.
Oh, absolutely. The memoir is just soaked in it. The text details the impact of the early deaths of his siblings. It starts with Margaret.
Right. Taken away by the doctor like the dog on the street.
And the mother's reaction, oh, Jesus, you'll smother her. Just heartbreaking. It's so raw in McCourt's writing, that terror of losing a child.
The simplicity makes it so powerful. And it doesn't stop there. The text describes Oliver's funeral, the white box, and Frank noticing, with that child's clarity, that if you're a man, you can cry only when you have the black stuff that is called the pint.
Wow. What an observation for a kid.
It is. It's this early, painful insight into that culture of stoicism, where grief goes hidden, often with alcohol. Then Eugene dies. Frank sees the coffin, 2 black pints on it.
Right.
And he feels frightened. Sorry he ever ate that toffee earlier. It shows how grief works in a child's mind, mixed up with fear, small regrets, this dawning confusion about death.
And McCourt is brilliant at showing how the parents cope so differently. And Angela's grief is so physical, weak and white, needing meat and eggs 3 times a week.
And the doctor having no notion of not having. A stark reminder of the gap between their reality and others.
Exactly. Her body is just breaking down. Whereas the father, Malachi, he sinks more into drink, but he also has these tender moments.
He does, calling Frank my child, asking him to tell me all about Cuchulainn, sharing those old Irish myths.
Stories of heroes, a total contrast to their lives. It's such a complex picture of him, flawed, failing, but capable of connection.
Very complex. And there's that detail about Uncle Pat Sheehan helping with Eugene's coffin, saying he'd never lifted a small child before in my life.
Yeah, that stuck with me too.
It just underscores the quiet burden on everyone, the community, in those tragedies. A small line, but it speaks volumes about shared sorrow.
It really does. Okay, so shifting focus a bit, education, faith, and how Frank's identity starts forming in all this. The schools sound, well, harsh.
Harsh is putting it mildly. Masters hitting you if you can't say your name in Irish or don't know who was the greatest man, De Valera or Collins.
McCourt conveys it so well through that child's perspective. The rules seem so arbitrary, the fear so real, but also kind of absurd sometimes.
Definitely. And the master's own politics come through directly. Mr. Benson hates America, and you have to remember to hate America or he'll hit you.
Chilling, isn't it? How ideology gets enforced with a stick. It feels like it's about conformity, not learning.
Exactly. And religious instruction was just as rigorous. It shaped everything. First communion, practicing with bits of the Limerick Leader newspaper.
And Frank getting God glued to the roof of my mouth. It's funny, but also shows how literal kids are.
Right. And confirmation, being told they're soldiers of the church ready to die and be a martyr. There's this huge sense of obligation, but also these absurdities when seen through a child's eyes.
It seems designed to instill absolute belief, but for Frank, it often just sparks more questions.
Yes. His curiosity keeps clashing with it all, wondering why you'd want to eat your dinner off the floor when you had a table, wrestling with the angel on the 7th step.
And that internal monologue about St. Moling and the leper's snot, it's almost grotesque, but it shows his mind working, questioning.
It does. He's trying to square the dogma with the harsh, messy reality he sees. It's the start of a critical thinker, really, even in that environment.
And most masters shut down questions, but there's that one moment with Mr. Dotty.
Ah, yes. Encouraging Brendan Quigley asking about theorem and Euclid. It's like this tiny crack of light, suggesting real curiosity could be completely stamped out.
Shows the power of just one encouraging teacher, maybe.
For sure. And surprisingly, Malachi Sr., despite the drinking, also fuels Frank's curiosity in a way.
How so?
He tells stories of the hedge schools, where people love learning, risked their lives for stories and poetry.
Ah, right.
And he paints America as this land of opportunity where Frank could get an inside job, be in out of the rain.
Yeah.
These stories plant seeds, don't they? Ambition, escape, linking learning to a way out.
Which leads us perfectly into work, dreams, and the whole class system in Limerick. His first jobs were so humble, taking Bill Galvin's dinner down the dock road, 6 pence a week.
Yeah, incredibly humble. And those early jobs were profound lessons in labor and poverty. Then he worked briefly as a coal delivery boy with Mr. Hannon.
And he dreams of being a real coal man with black skin.
Right, noting that if a wise man is black, it means that everywhere you go in the world, someone is delivering coal. It's this amazing image, a kid finding dignity in hard work, connecting to something universal, biblical even.
Shows his innocence, his search for meaning.
Definitely. Then he's a temporary telegram boy. Worse conditions, no uniforms, no holidays, the pay is less. But it gives him this unique, often grim view of the city.
Delivering money orders to that pile of rags.
Yes, people, helpless to get out of the bed to go to the post office to cash the bloody money order. It's a powerful, almost dehumanizing image of total desperation. Frank's awareness is growing, seeing suffering beyond his own families.
And the memoir is sharp on social commentary, too, isn't it? Class, religion.
Oh, yeah, subtly done. The butcher interaction with Angela about the pig's head, mentioning Mrs. Leibowitz, it hints at those divisions, those little slights.
And his observations of the brave new rich.
Exactly. With their electricity and wireless, looking down on people scratching their arses on the queue at the labor exchange. McCourt paints this vivid picture of a stratified society. Small luxuries become symbols of status, even contempt.
Yeah, and the contrast hits hard when the McCourts have bread and tea, while neighbors are loudly boasting about fried black pudding and gorgeous blue duck egg.
That daily, public reminder of what they lack. For a hungry kid, that's not just about food, it's about shame, envy, the psychological weight again.
And all this just fuels his longing for America, right? He sees Limerick as a gray place with a river that kills.
A powerful reference to the polluted Shannon. He cycles out to Cairngorgunnel Castle, watches the river flowing out to the Atlantic on its way to America.
Dreaming of sailing away himself.
It's more than fantasy. It's this deep yearning for liberation, for opportunity, fed by his dad's stories and his own reality.
So this brings us to some really personal stuff. Revelations, life's complexities just before he leaves. That time in the fever hospital.
Right, with typhoid. And he forms that bond with Patricia Madigan, the diphtheria patient.
Exchanging poetry secretly. It's so tender, finding that connection in such an isolating place.
It really is. Patricia whispering, "No laughing, Francis. You could be doing serious damage to your internal apparatus." It's this shared vulnerability, this intellectual spark amid illness, a testament to the human spirit, really.
Then the memoir tackles his sexual awakening, that confusing encounter with Mrs. Finucane.
Yeah, that's a tough passage, described as filled with sin and iodine and fear of consumption and the shilling tip in her green eyes.
And it ends with that raw feeling. If this is a sin, I don't give a fiddler's fart.
It's a huge moment of defiance, isn't it? Pushing back against all those rigid codes he's lived under, followed by that desperate confession attempt after his first pint, after hitting his mother, shows how tangled up sin, experience, and guilt were for him.
And his rebellion just starting to emerge.
Exactly. Then there's the discovery about his parents' marriage certificate, finding out he was born 5 months after they married.
And his conclusion is just so. Frank McCourt.
Isn't it? That means I must be a miracle and I might grow up to be a saint. St. Francis of Limerick. It's brilliant. Turning potential shame into something unique, almost divine, a child's imaginative coping.
You really see him wrestling with things as he starts saving for the boat fare. The text says he sometimes feels tears coming, feels ashamed of myself for being weak.
That expected stoicism again. Struggling to suppress his ties to a place that caused so much pain, but was still home.
Visiting the churches to get pictures of Limerick stuck in my head in case I never come back. He knows it's final.
He's actively trying to imprint memories, understanding the weight of the decision, remembering his roots, good and bad.
And that final departure scene from Cork on the Irish Oak. So poignant.
Sailing past Kinsale, Cape Clear, seeing Mizzen Head, the last of Ireland I'll see for God knows how long. And then that moment of reflection, questioning himself.
Surely I should have stayed.
Taken the post office examination, climbed in the world, lamenting he could have provided for his brothers Michael and Alfie. Proper shoes, full bellies.
It's such a complex ending. Regret, responsibility, even as he's sailing towards hope.
It captures the enduring weight of family, doesn't it? Even an escape.
And that really brings our deep dive into Angela's Ashes towards its close. We've gone through McCourt's early life, pulling out those raw details, hardship, humor, spirit, all straight from the text itself. It gives you such an unvarnished insight, doesn't it, into what it really means to be well-informed about a specific, powerful human story like this.
It really does. Those textual nuggets we looked at, they paint such a vivid picture of resilience, of the human condition under pressure.
Yeah.
And maybe as you reflect on Frank McCourt's journey, here's a final thought to chew on. What does it actually take to carry those nuggets of knowledge from a child like that, not just across an ocean, but through a whole life, and then to transform them into a story for the entire world?
That's powerful. A real testament to perseverance, isn't it? And the lasting impact of where you come from.